Welcome to another special episode of Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And once again, we're doing the dive right into this thing, non-traditional kind of review for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the one that came out in 2022, the rebooted one. So this is kind of a follow-up to my other kind of weird one for Call of Duty that came out in 2019, Modern Warfare 2019, the reboot there. I'm following this little trilogy. At least as of right now, it's still just a trilogy. I don't know if they're making a fourth one or not, I guess. But so we're on the second one here, and yet again, I'm going to be making some assumptions as about Call of Duty. You aren't going to be jumping in totally blind here. You probably have played the previous one as well. It was very highly regarded, and unlike on that one where I was like I'm giving you this question if is it overrated. On this one, I'm just going to kind of try to tell you that my point is just I think this one is better than the previous one, even though most people don't, and I want to explain why I think that. There's still going to be kind of spoilery stuff, not so much for the plot, but for the different gameplay sections and whatnot. So I do want to talk more, a little bit more detail on this one, I think, but still not doing it quite by the books like I normally do. So hopefully that's okay. See if you guys like it. And so to say that here, basically, I want to start off with that to say, yes, I think that Modern Warfare 2 does a better job here than the first one did in most respects, but there are a couple of things right away I want to get out of the way to say that I think the first one absolutely did better. So one of those is the horrors of war thing, where the first game definitely had those moments that were very impactful. They were rather emotional, and they did a good job of not only making you feel it as a person, the humanity of what's going on, but also making you feel that in terms of as a player with the gameplay stuff. I think they did a very, very good job of that. This game does not do that really anywhere. They touch on the ideas, but you kind of have to do the legwork yourself to make it really land for a lot of it emotionally, and I think gameplay wise most of it does not feel the same way that way. The other thing is the story, and again, I'm not a big plot story guy, but the story here just isn't as good. It's not, again, because it doesn't have such personal ties and everything. It feels like the story here is sort of just a vehicle, more or less, to set up cool set pieces for you to play, and to set up existing circumstances for the story to ultimately set the stage for the following game. I think is kind of what it is. So the story serves the purpose of making cool stuff for the game to do, and for the next game to hopefully capitalize on a bit more. But the thing is, I want to say that the campaign here, much, much better. It's a longer campaign, and it has a lot more memorable stuff that's just more fun. There's a thing here, there's a part where you're in a downed plane, and you have to fend off enemies there coming out of the tree line and stuff. You're in this kind of fire around you and stuff, and they're coming out of there from behind the trees and the smoke, and you're fending off through the windows of the hull of this downed plane. There's one where there's on a boat, and this huge ship or whatever, and it's all storming and stuff, and the waves are going everywhere. There's water flying around, so it's kind of hard to see. They got spotlights shining through there, and it's a part where you're on the deck, and every time it's tilting, there are a bunch of crates and stuff that are sliding around on the deck, and that's your cover. So it's moving cover. You have to kind of keep ducking behind and seeing enemies running around behind it as well. But also you have to be careful, because if you're too close to it, you might actually get crushed by that stuff as well. There's one that everybody hates, where you're jumping from you're in this convoy of trucks, and you're jumping from truck to truck, essentially going in you can hijack a truck and trying to go through. You can pop out the window and shoot enemies off of the trucks and things, whatever. And then you eventually you might take too much damage, so you have to jump out on the hood, the roof of your truck, and then jump to somebody else's vehicle and steal that vehicle, and then keep going. You do that for a while. Most people hate this one. I think it was actually kind of neat. It's not my favorite of the missions, but I think it actually is pretty fun. It's maybe one of the better vehicle missions I've seen in a Call of Duty game. Also, it's an interesting concept. Maybe it goes on a tad long, but I think it's decent. I didn't hate it like most people did. There's a one where you're in ghillie suits and you're sniping. This is kind of more of a nod to the original Modern Warfare 2, I think. Or did it happen in the first Modern Warfare? I don't know. Maybe it happened there. There's some some callback to like the original Modern Warfare games in general. And this is one of them. Like there's one where you're in like with that boat mission. Before that, you're like going in like an oil rig thing, which is kind of like a call to that too. But there's this one where you're in like you're going in your ghillie suits and you're sniping from farther away. They're still doing the thing with like there's bullet drop, but there's no wind, and they're like telling you this is how you're doing with the bullet drop. I didn't like the bullet drop part of it so much. It's like fine, I can deal with it. But you snipe these guys from really far away. Then you have to go and approach the area, and there's a couple things where you have to like stay there while they drive up around and try to look around. And you're just pretending you're not anything. You're just a bush, so they don't see you. And then there's like, once you get down to the compound area, there's like these locked buildings, and you can choose to either like blow open the buildings with like C4 charges, and then like fight your way through, fight everybody inside there, or you can go onto the roof and throw these like gas grenades down like the ventilation shaft, and it makes everybody have to evacuate and run outside to get away from the gas, and they can get picked off as they do that. So like that was also cool. They have another like AC-130 mission, which I'm kind of tired of at this point a little bit. I'm like, we get it, it's Modern Warfare, we have to have one where you're in an AC-130 and you're shooting down at people. But this one was at least a little interesting in that it had like this this added element of like you're trying not to destroy buildings and you're trying not to shoot innocent targets. You're trying to defend your team up there and minimize civilian casualties. You have to kind of check to see if people are holding guns or not. And that's I think that's an interesting little element to it that at least makes it feel like you do have to be more precise and have more restraint. So at least it felt like it wasn't just the same thing over again, even if it mostly is. There's also one where you have they had this in the first one sort of, where there's like a tactical camera section. But this one is a bit just better because there's basically you're hijacking these cameras and you're going around and you can look through the cameras and see enemies and stuff, and you're trying to guide, you're trying to try ghost around and tell them hey, go here now, shoot this guy, go up and stab this guy, and you can sabotage different things, turn off the power over here, blow up this vehicle over here, make these distractions, or whatever. There's stuff like that you can do, and try not to get him caught and killed. That was a kind of a neat section too. Not my favorite. I'm glad it wasn't a super long section, but it was an interesting section that actually felt a bit more fun than the first time, where it was just run away, don't get seen for this random person. There's a fucking boss fight with a tank. You are on foot and you're fighting a tank running around this mostly a lot of destructible cover. That it could blow up, and you're trying to find explosives there to blow up the tank, do enough damage to it to destroy the tank. And it also sends enemies and stuff after you and whatnot too during it. That's actually a pretty cool fight. That's actually a pretty fun little boss fight thing to do. And then perhaps the most interesting mission that most people online probably like the most, I think, here is called Alone, where essentially you start off and you are being hunted by Shadow Company. So they're in this city, and they're walking around, and they are trying to clear out the city of other people because they have other targets they're looking for, but you're also on the list at this point. So you're injured and you're unarmed, and so you're very slow, very weak, and you're trying to sneak around and not get detected because they'll easily kill you. And you're trying to find these materials to essentially find materials to make gadgets and things to help you maneuver while not having any for distracting and dealing with guards and stuff while not having any actual weapons. Eventually you find a knife, and you can use that to sneak up and kill one of the guards, and then you can get their gun, and then you can use that to kind of actually defend yourself a bit. Then you get to this next section where you get a little stim shot, so then you can move at normal speed again, and then you're able to more efficiently go around and sneak and kill enemies, and get their stuff while also still gathering other items to make stuff to make it easier to deal with enemies without being seen. So there's the mix of stealth, or you can go all out, balls to the wall, start killing everybody. It's just going to be hard when you're by yourself, have no backup. And I think that's the main thing of the mission. And that mission was really cool. I agree. I understand why a lot of people liked it. It was a really cool thing to come you feel you really feel the progression of I have nothing, and you slowly claw your way up to being a force to be reckoned with as you're there, rather than just starting with a squad and a bunch of stuff where you just kind of decimate everybody immediately. It was a pretty good way of using the stealth stuff, incorporating that a little bit better, and also Just in general too, like all the missions, like really in all the missions too, where they have some element of stealth. I think they do a good job of you can be stealthy, but you don't have to, and it's a more natural like, you know, our enemies seeing you. Once they see you, they kind of do. And then if you hide again, you can kind of just they're like, where is he? I don't know. Nobody else sees him anymore, and they're like on alert, but they don't know. They do a very good job of making the stealth a little more seamless rather than like a very janky like, here's my stealth meter of awareness and stuff. I think they do a good job with that. And just there's just like a ton of, absolutely a ton of these like different like interesting and like memorable pieces in the campaign that are just like fun. And I think that's something that we really needed. Not just more length to it, but we needed less time of people just talking, less time of cutscenes. We needed more time of actually doing stuff and having fun playing the game. And I think the campaign here absolutely delivers. I wouldn't say it's one of the best campaigns in the Call of Duty series, but it's not a bad one. It's not bad. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable, and I think they really hit the nail on the head with this one, with what they needed to do to improve the campaign from the previous one. Even if they did have to sacrifice some of those cool, like impactful moments to do it, I think it was worthwhile. Personally, to me, because I'm a big gameplay guy. I don't quite have quite as much to say for some of the other things. Like there's some co-op stuff, like for the more online modes. There's co-op, which was kind of cool actually. I liked it more than I thought I would. It's not like Spec Ops necessarily, but it's like just a few different kinds of co-op missions. Like there's things where you're defending like these areas against waves of enemies trying to plant bombs there, and you can only have it on groups of like 2 people, and then like you have AI with you, and like enemies are trying to like plant bombs, basically like an online sabotage thing or something, where enemies are running around trying to plant bombs in these areas, and if they blow up any of the areas, then they win. And there's like respawning. There's not respawning, but there's like reviving each other. So like there's that. There's a couple stealth missions you do where you're trying to sneak around and do stuff together. That was actually surprisingly really fun to do. Just like a big stealth open thing where it's not just like, it doesn't feel like a big story. It's just like gotta go do these objectives and have fun with each other doing these things. I don't know. There's one where it's also like somebody's in a gunship and another person's on the ground doing stuff, so the one person's like covering you, kind of like mimicking the Spec Ops mission from the original Modern Warfare 2. That was really like, I don't know, they were cool. I think these were really neat, and they had like, again, they have like these classes in here where you can be like, medics to like revive you faster, or like the assault like has more armor and ammo and stuff. Like I don't know, you have like those little like tidbits thrown in there still too. So it's like those were surprisingly fun, and still had people playing them, unlike the Spec Ops missions in the previous game. Where they were just, I couldn't even do them. So like that was like, those are actually fairly cool. And then multiplayer, well, I mean, a lot of it's pretty similar to the way it was. It's multiplayer again, right? I will say they have a different thing they do with the perk system here. They do have regular kill streaks, where they're just kill streaks again. It's not like score streaks now, which I think is probably, it feels a little backwards. I'd rather them keep the score streak thing, but for the perk system, they just have perk packages, so they're not like customizable, like I want this one for my perks. Perks are just in these little packages of like, you get these perks, and you have 2 perks that are unlocked right away, then there's another perk, like a third one that gets unlocked after you've been in the match for so long, and then like a 4th one if you've been in the match even longer, which I guess the idea that was posed for this is that if it incentivizes you to stay in matches longer. I don't know if I buy that, but I guess maybe it does, because if you're in there longer, you'll be better. But I also wonder, like, do those perks activate if the match has been going on for a while and you just join in the middle of it? I don't know. I don't know. If it doesn't, then I feel like that's a balance issue, but I didn't play enough to really even notice. I think for, like, newer modes here, there's, like, a prisoner rescue is one where it's kind of like, think of it as, like, search and destroy, basically. But, there's the ability to revive each other. And then there's, like, basically 2 prisoners on the map. And so you're taking turns either trying to save the prisoners or, like, defend the prisoners. And the match ends either when both prisoners are saved or when a team is entirely wiped out. And you get more points for saving prisoners. So it's like a score thing. But like I said, it's kind of like search and destroy in that most of the time you don't win by the prisoners being saved, you or lose. Mostly the match usually ends just because everybody gets killed. And then there's one called Knockout, which again is kind of similar. you can revive each other and stuff, but like there is no respawning, and you win by either killing everybody or holding a package for a certain amount of time. At no point playing it did I ever see anybody get this package and hold it for a long enough time to win. It just randomly spawns somewhere on the map. It pretty much is, again, it's kind of like search and destroy, but you can revive people. It's pretty much what it feels like. There's also new modes for like drop zone and grind that I couldn't play because I would tell you about them, but I kind of can't because I didn't get to play them. I tried and I sat there until my controller died, and or I didn't die. I sat there until my controller went to sleep, and then I still didn't find a match. I'm like, I guess no one's playing these modes. For a game that's not that old, that's kind of sad. There's also a third-person mosh pit, which is just a few different team deathmatch, kind of like team deathmatch? Yeah, team deathmatch, domination, and hard point, but it's just in third person. It doesn't really feel right to play Call of Duty in third person, I guess, to me personally. But it's not like it's like terrible or anything. I guess it works fine. It just doesn't feel quite as good. It looks wrong, and also like, forget about looking down. Like, I guess you could change your a class for this, or create a class for this thing where you don't really have an optic on your weapon, because like you're not gonna be able to see through your optic anyway. So like, I don't know. It's different. It's just, I don't know if it was necessary, but maybe some people like it. What else is here? There's also a thing where like they have ground war still, but then they have this other big scale thing called Invasion, where it's two huge teams, both of human players and AI players, and it's a big battle of this, and it's just like basically a giant team deathmatch. But also during it, eventually there's just like these random supply drops coming in from the sky to give you like kill streaks and things, whatever, to like help you make the battle more chaotic near the end. The longer it goes on, I don't know. It was okay. It was something different, I guess, but it wasn't. Yeah, it's called Invasion. Yeah, you just kind of do that, and I guess they do bill it as it just being chaotic. I'd also like to tell you about the raid thing. There are a few episodes of like raids where you play with 3 people, but I assume there's some kind of like story-based stuff slightly there, with multiple objectives and things to do and rewards for doing so, but the raids were dead. I could not find anybody playing any of the available raids, so that was out. So the only other thing here that's kind of new is that they have this option called DMZ, and I was like, what the fuck is DMZ? And basically it's, I assume, I still haven't played Warzone, but I assume it's kind of built on the bones of Warzone, where you basically spawn to this big map. There's a big map that's running for, I don't know, they just have it out there and stuff is just running while it's going. I don't exactly know how it works. I think that's how it works, and at certain times certain maps are running, certain times other maps are not. Maybe, I don't know. But it's this giant map, and you drop in with your squad of 3 people, and you're running around looting stuff and doing these little missions. You can also take these extra bonus challenges and things. You're kind of basically collecting money, which can be used to buy stuff at these, like, and like getting other like pieces of loot you can sell at these like little stations. And you can buy more gear and weapons and things. And the idea is to try and finish off and gather a bunch of stuff, do your missions, then get out. And then if you get out, you get all that money to use or whatever. And a lot of that I think gets converted into like experience as well. If you die in there, you will lose a bunch of your stuff. So like this mode, you can like revive each other and stuff too. But also if you die, you're out, and once your squad's out, that's it. And also again, like there's other people playing as well, so you don't have to fight other squads you find out there, but you probably inevitably will. But there are like AI enemies out there that you can fight as well. And I think it's also like on a timer. There's like timed, and eventually something happens when that timer runs out, I think. I don't know if you just get killed or something happens in the map. I didn't actually make it to the timer any of the times I tried. Nor did I actually successfully leave or do much in there. I tried it a little bit. I didn't try it a ton, to be fair. Not really my cup of tea, but this is the kind of mode where I think this is where pretty much most people would probably... like, if you're going to play this game a ton, with your friends, this is probably going to be an appealing bow to see like how like effectively like can you go do this and get all this money and do all these things and like mess around with other people online. I think it's probably a good place to go, and especially since it's not contingent on everybody playing, a ton of people playing at the same time because there's AI stuff going on and whatever in the map as well. But also at the same time, I feel like the downside here as well is that it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of point to it. It's like you get experience for weapons and things, I guess. It's for more grinding and stuff to do, but I think it's like, it feels like there's less like winning other than completing your missions and then getting out. There's not as much of an incentive there as like, because you could also leave at any point, I think, as well. It's a like, I don't know. It feels less like waiting more just like another like a slant grind, a different like flavor of grinding. I think the only other thing I'd probably bring up about this game also is that, again, as far as issues, I didn't have many other than weird texture bugs at some points where, stuff kind of popped in and out of existence a little bit. And also the checkpoints were kind of rough in a few missions, particularly in things like Alone and then like a mission near the end that does a similar thing where you're unarmed for a bit and hiding. When the checkpoints start you in a weird spot where you're like almost caught, it kind of sucks. There should be some protection against that, I think, and there's no way to like load a previous checkpoint. So if you're in a bad checkpoint, you just kind of have to hope you can get out of it, or you'll have to restart your entire mission, and that's a pretty big issue. But other than that, I didn't really find too many like glaring, problems with this. Even the stuff with like the store, I just never looked at the microtransactions bullshit really at all. It didn't seem to bug me as much here because they weren't like in my face. It was a tab I had to like actively go over to see. And yeah, I don't know. The gunsmith thing I think had also a thing where you can switch to different bodies of weapons here, which I think sounds neat. But the idea is like you can use your same weapon with a different weapon's body, so you can have some of the other unlocks and stuff on them, but then keep getting kills towards that different weapon, I guess. I don't know. Some of the stuff here is like a little like interesting and it's neat, but it's like not necessarily that great. But overall, yeah, I think this is a definitely a better package than the 2019 Modern Warfare. I think Modern Warfare 2 definitely steps it up everywhere where it needed to really step it up. Online was already fine. They didn't break it. They made co-op. Well, people were playing it, I guess, and they made that fun. I can't speak for some of the modes I couldn't play still, which is a bit telling. It's only going to get worse and worse over time for these online modes, but the campaign is good. Definitely the campaign is worth your time, and I think that, if anything, this game is a bit underrated because the campaign is very fun. Unless you're just coming to this game, for the story, which I feel like is maybe not the greatest reason to go to Call of Duty is for its amazing plot. I think that, like, if you're coming here more for, like, just the fun of the sections and stuff you're going to do, then yeah, I think Modern Warfare 2 is a blast, and I definitely would recommend it. If you liked the first Modern Warfare as far as the gameplay went, you'll have even more fun in its sequel. Definitely weirdly underrated. But let me know what you think in the comments on this if you'd like, because I'd be interested to think if anybody else found this game really fun, or if it is just me and it's like, no, you're crazy. As far as the gameplay stuff, because I understand the story is like whatever, and I get it. I understand it's not as impactful. I get it, but do you really think the gameplay and stuff was that bad? I don't know. I'm willing to hear you out on the vehicle section for the convoy, but I don't know. Generally speaking, I think it's weird to look at this campaign and be like, you know what, this is bad. This is still like a fun, solid campaign, even if it isn't like gonna end up in the top best Call of Duty campaigns out there. I think it's probably not necessarily one of the worst ones, and if anything, it's in an area where even if it's somewhere in the middle, that's in terms of Call of Duty campaigns. In terms of like just general like first-person shooters, it's still a pretty good campaign. It's still a lot of fun. So there weren't too many times where I was like, man, I wish this part was over, and yeah, maybe a tad too many of the dudes with body armor, I guess, when you have to shoot all the head and break the armor and stuff. Maybe a few too many of them, but other than that, I think they did a pretty good job here. And it was a lot of fun. Basically, what I'm saying is this was a lot more fun than I thought it would be, based on everybody saying this game sucks. And I hope somebody else also thinks this game was like pretty fun, even if it's like goofy and not like realistic or like super good plot wise. It was just fun to play. Anybody? I'm also not super excited to play the next one because, from what I hear, it sounds like Modern Warfare 3 was originally planned to be a DLC package, and then they were like, well, we need more time to work on Black Ops 6, so can you just put out that DLC package as its own game? And they're like, okay, I guess instead of a Modern Warfare 2 DLC, it's going to just be Modern Warfare 3 now. So it could still be good if it's building off of what's here, but if it was rushed and there's not enough stuff here, it could just end up with the most disappointing one of the lot. We'll see. Yeah, pray for me. That's what I'm saying. Just wish for me to have a better time than most people probably did. Sometimes that's the best all any of us can do.
Steaming Jesus.
Ballistic missiles.
It's a mobile launcher.
These will go 1,000 miles.
Yeah, at least. How the hell did Iran get their hands on this?